Welcome to Houselux Estate, your go-to channel for all things finance and real estate. Today, we venture into the world of freelancing and irregular income. We'll delve into the essentials of building a financial plan, a key tool for navigating the unpredictable waters of freelance income. With the right plan, you can weather financial uncertainty and secure your future. So are you ready to take the reins of your financial destiny? Stay tuned to discover how you can build a robust financial plan despite having an irregular income. Firstly, we need to understand what we mean by irregular income. It's an income type that doesn't follow a standard, predictable pattern. It could be more some months, less others, or even non-existent at times. This type of income is common in professions such as freelancing, real estate, sales, and consulting, where earnings can fluctuate based on demand, performance, or market conditions. The challenges of managing finances with irregular income are unique. It's like trying to hit a moving target. One month, you might be rolling in dough, and the next, you're scraping by. This unpredictability can lead to stress and anxiety about meeting financial obligations, saving for the future, and even just covering basic living expenses. But don't fret, with a bit of strategy and discipline, you can navigate these choppy financial waters. Now that we have a clear understanding of irregular income, let's dive into the steps to build a financial plan. The first step in building a financial plan is tracking your income and expenses. Now you may be wondering why this step is so crucial. Well, keeping a close eye on your income and expenses is like having a roadmap for your financial journey. It allows you to see where your money is coming from, where it's going, and if there are any detours or roadblocks you need to be aware of. Think about it for a moment. If you don't know how much you're earning or spending, how can you plan for the future? How can you save for an emergency, invest for retirement, or even just make sure that you're not spending more than you're earning? It's like trying to navigate a ship without a compass. You might get lucky and find your way, but chances are you'll end up lost at sea. So how do you track your income and expenses? Well, there are a few different methods you can use, each with its own pros and cons. Firstly, you have the good old-fashioned way of doing things, using a pen and paper or a spreadsheet. This method gives you the most control over your data, but it can be time-consuming, especially if you have a lot of transactions to record. Secondly, there are plenty of apps out there that can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. These apps can connect to your bank accounts and credit cards, automatically categorize your transactions, and even create budgets and savings goals for you. However, they do require a certain level of trust, as you're giving them access to your financial information. Finally, you could also hire a financial advisor or a bookkeeper to manage your finances for you. This can be a great option if you're extremely busy or if finances just aren't your thing. But remember, it's still important for you to stay involved and understand what's happening with your money. Once you have a clear picture of your income and expenses, you can move on to the next step. And that step is creating a budget, which is what we'll be covering in the next scene. So stick around and let's continue this financial journey together. The second step is creating a budget. Now, let's dive into the heart of financial planning, budgeting. But before we do, let's dispel a common myth. A budget is not a financial straitjacket that limits your spending. Instead, think of it as a roadmap, guiding you towards your financial goals. So, how do we create a budget? First, list out your necessary monthly expenses. These are your non-negotiables, like rent or mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, health insurance, and so on. Next, consider your discretionary expenses. These are things you enjoy but can live without if needed. Perhaps your Netflix subscription or your weekend brunches. It's important to factor these in too, because hey, we all deserve a little fun, right? Now here's the tricky part for freelancers: predicting income. Since it can fluctuate, a good rule of thumb is to base your budget on the lower end of your income spectrum. This way, you're less likely to overspend during lean months. All right, once you've got your income and expenses laid out, it's time to do the math. If your income exceeds your expenses, great. You're living within your means. If not, it's time to revisit those discretionary expenses, or perhaps find ways to increase your income. Here's a golden nugget. Budgeting is not a one-time exercise. It's a living, breathing entity that needs regular reviews and adjustments. Remember, your income may fluctuate, and so will your expenses. So, it's crucial to revisit your budget regularly, adjusting it based on your actual income and expenses. Now, let's talk about goals. Setting realistic budget goals is crucial. Whether it's saving for a rainy day, paying off debt, or investing for the future, Your budget should reflect these goals. Allocate portions of your income towards these goals and track your progress. Remember, the key to successful budgeting is discipline and consistency. It may seem challenging at first, but with time and practice, it will become second nature. With a well-structured budget in place, we can now proceed to the next step. The third step involves building an emergency fund. As we navigate through the sea of finance, it's inevitable that we'll hit a few storms along the way. This is where our emergency fund comes into play. It's the life raft that keeps us afloat when the seas get rough. But what exactly is an emergency fund, and why is it so crucial, especially for those with irregular income? Think of an emergency fund as your financial safety net. It's money set aside to cover large, unexpected expenses, such as a major car repair, a medical emergency, or sudden loss of income. For those with irregular income, this fund is particularly crucial. It helps to smooth out the financial bumps in the road, making sure you're covered during those leaner months or when unexpected expenses pop up. So, how do you start and grow an emergency fund? Here are some tips. Firstly, start small. No amount is too little to save. Even if it's just $5 a week, it's a start. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Secondly, make it automatic. Consider setting up an automatic transfer from your main account to your emergency fund. That way, you're saving without even thinking about it. Thirdly, keep your emergency fund separate from your main bank account. This reduces the temptation to dip into it for everyday expenses. Finally, aim for a goal. A common recommendation is to save up enough to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses. However, with irregular income, you might want to aim for a bigger buffer, perhaps up to a year's worth of expenses. Building an emergency fund is not an overnight task. It requires discipline, patience, and a bit of sacrifice. But the peace of mind it brings is worth every penny. With a solid emergency fund, you're better equipped to handle financial surprises. Now let's move on to the final step. The final step in building a financial plan is planning for the future. And no, we're not talking about where you'll be vacationing next summer, but rather setting financial goals and preparing for retirement. Yes, retirement. As a freelancer, it may seem far off or even unattainable, but with careful planning and smart decisions, it's well within your reach. So, where do you begin? Let's start with setting financial goals. These could be short-term, like saving for a new laptop or attending a professional development course, or long-term, like buying a house or starting your own business. Having clear, defined goals will not only give you something to strive for, but will also help you stay motivated and focused on your financial journey. Now, let's talk about retirement. The key to a comfortable retirement is starting early and saving consistently. Consider setting up a retirement account and contributing a set amount each month, no matter how small. The power of compound interest cannot be overstated. Over time, even small contributions can grow into a sizable nest egg. But what about investing? Well, investing can be a great way to grow your wealth and reach your financial goals faster. It's important to remember that investing always comes with risk, but with risk comes potential reward. Diversification is key here. By spreading your investments across a variety of assets, you can minimize risk and maximize potential returns. And finally, don't forget about insurance. As a freelancer, you're your own boss, which means you're also responsible for your own insurance. Whether it's health, life, or disability insurance, having a safety net can save you from financial disaster in the event of an unexpected crisis. So, take some time to sit down, reflect on your financial goals, and start planning for the future. Remember, financial planning is not a one-time event, but a continuous process that requires regular review and adjustment. And there you have it, a financial plan to help you navigate the unpredictable waters of irregular income. Building a financial plan might seem daunting, but with these steps, it becomes a manageable task. We've learned how to understand our irregular income, track our income and expenses, create a budget, build an emergency fund, and plan for our future. Each step is a piece of the puzzle that leads us towards a more secure financial future. Thank you for joining us at Houselux Estate today. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more insightful videos. Here's to financial freedom, no matter your income.